Hi everyone. I get questions from people all the time from all across the country, and now on the channel I can answer those questions. So I printed out a few, and today I'm going to take some basic questions that I hear all the time, people asking me about my cancer. So the first one is, what type of breast cancer did you have and what does it mean? Wow. Okay, so I had stage 2 triple negative breast cancer. Now, stage 2 simply is in reference to how big the tumor is. And once you're over 2 centimeters, it goes into stage 2. If it's 3 centimeters, you go into stage 3. What that means is that we found mine while it was still in a pretty early stage. And that's great news because it's good for a prognosis. And it hadn't metastasized. The word metastasize means spreading out, so that it's not just within the tumor itself, but it spreads out and it goes into other organs in your body. And you always hope that you're going to find your cancer before that happens. Now, most breast cancers are either estrogen positive or progesterone positive or HER2. Those are 3 receptors that most breast cancer tumors have. And you'll usually hear that somebody is positive for one of those. But some of us, a very small subset, turn out not to have any of those receptors, any of those 3 receptors, and that's why it's called triple negative breast cancer. Now, there's targeted therapy for all those other 3 kinds of breast cancers. There is not yet any targeted therapy for triple negative. Fortunately, triple negative breast cancer, while it's somewhat rare and it's aggressive, it's very fast growing, it's also chemosensitive, and that's good news. So my next question that I got is, what was your course of treatment and how did you choose the right treatment plan for you? Well, the standard care of treatment is to have something called ACT. That's Adriamycin, Cytoxan, and Taxol. It's 3 forms of chemotherapy. And you start with the AC normally, and then you go on to Taxol. The other standard of treatment for years and years and years is that they take the tumor out first and they examine it and they look at it and they make a lot of determinations that way. However, we have to remember that every breast cancer is different. It's what's called a heterogeneous disease. It's different in every single woman. So you really need to look at cancer care when it comes to breast cancer as personalized cancer care. And in my case, by doing my chemotherapy first, we could shrink the tumor down and then do my surgery. And that way, it would be a much smaller surgery and I could have breast conservation and not just all of a sudden go to a mastectomy, needlessly in my case. So we decided to do what's called neoadjuvant. Neoadjuvant simply means doing your chemotherapy first and then doing your surgery. And then that's followed by radiation. And again, some women need the radiation, others don't. Some are able to take only a few days of a very high dose of radiation. But after you've gone through 16 rounds of chemo, your body is worn down. So in my case, I had to take 6 weeks of radiation, and the doses were much, much lower because you just couldn't put my body through high doses of radiation at that point. We did one other thing differently, and again, I'm going to say to you, don't compare your breast cancer to mine or your sister's or your cousin's or your girlfriend's. Everyone is different, and a course of treatment might vary considerably. We did something that's relatively new, and this came out of a study that was released in 2013, at the San Antonio Breast Cancer Conference, where they flip the ACT and they do the T first, the Taxol first, and they combine it with it's not a new drug, it's called Carboplatin. It's actually been used in many, many kinds of cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, for years, but it's just recently being used in breast cancer. So we gave me, during my 12-week course of Taxol, every 3 weeks we would give me a dose of Carboplatin. It's a pretty toxic chemotherapy. There's differences of opinion as to whether you really need to go that route. I ultimately had to make the decision myself, and that's part of the complexity of breast cancer, is that you listen to different opinions, you go for a second opinion, and the trouble is you get a second opinion. That can sometimes be really disconcerting. So I got this second opinion. One was to do standard surgery first, ACT. The other recommendation was to do the T first, the Taxol first, with this brand new drug, then the AC, then the surgery. And as it turns out, that really worked in my favor. I had one tumor that was triple negative breast cancer way at the far back, almost against my chest wall. And then as we started into this journey, we realized that I had another small little tumor about an inch in front of that one called DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ. And that's the kind of breast cancer, quite frankly, that women can have, never even know it their entire life, and it would never be significant and never require treatment. But as long as we were going in, they decided, obviously, they would treat that too. And by taking all of this chemotherapy first, we literally eradicated the smaller tumor completely. It was not there when they went to do the surgery. And we shrunk the triple negative tumor about 85%. I didn't get a complete response. You'd like to get a complete response, and the reason why is that if you do, the likelihood of recurrence is very little. So, but I got almost a complete response, and this put me in a position where when the breast cancer surgeon went in to do the surgery, she was able to do my surgery, and I, in the end, didn't have that much of a difference. And so I didn't have to go through breast reconstruction. So that was my treatment plan. But again, I can't say it enough. This does not mean that this is what you should go and ask your doctor for you. But I am just letting you know that there was a brand new kind of therapy out, a brand new regimen. And I decided to go with it because this is cancer. And I wanted to bring in the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, and the Navy SEALs. Like, give me the full dose. There are no shortcuts in fighting cancer, and that's what I did. And I did the best that medicine has to offer. So now I'm past it. I'm in the survivor category, and I have every reason to believe that I am cured and that it won't come back.